I'm Larry Supperdon, and I'm the Legislative Counsel of the Chicago Bar Association. And today we're going to discuss the CLE program that we will have on October 31st at the Chicago Bar to discuss how we can pass the Equal Rights Amendment to the federal Constitution. My guest today is Laurel Bellows, who's the former president of the Chicago Bar Association and former president of the American Bar Association. And when she was president of the Chicago Bar, took her year to put an emphasis on women in the practice of law and ensuring that women lawyers knew each other, found opportunities for each other. It's a great privilege for me to be here because you're a friend, knowing your advocacy and knowing you're a great mother of a young woman who's succeeding because of the kind of work you've done. So my first question to you is, what brought you to focus on women's rights, and how do you see it fitting in to the Equal Rights Amendment?
So I began focusing on women's rights even before I knew it, that I was focusing on it. And that was when I started practicing law and I wanted to become a trial lawyer, Larry. When I started practicing law, women were not to be trial lawyers. You couldn't get a job as a trial lawyer. How could a woman possibly relate to a jury? How could a woman speak to a client and have a client's confidence? How could a woman cross-examine a witness, right? And thank goodness I married a guy who thought women could address and build a relationship with a jury faster than a guy. And so I began to live my dream. So that was the first immediate personal confrontation I had with problems that might put a line as to where I could go and what I wanted to do. The fascinating part of that conversation is that line remains. So we've just done, through the ABA and the CBA and the Alliance for Women here, a report that Judge Castillo worked on. Where are women as first chair in trial? When Hillary Clinton was chair of the ABA's Commission on Women, she thought things were going well, so what did she need to do in 1986? Because women had been in the practice, and if you gave us time, everything would change. And the fact was, she drafted a report that said, barriers will persist, and time and the number of women in the profession won't change it. And then 10 years later, when I took over, a little bit less than that, when I took over as chair of the Commission on Women, we did a report to follow up hers. And what do you think the response was? Barriers persist. Time alone will not change the lack of equality between genders in the legal profession, in fact, anywhere in this country. That active, definite change in our laws that can be enforced was the key. And at that point, Equal Rights Amendment, we thought it was a slam dunk. Why in the world would anybody be opposed to gender equality?
Well, as you know, the Congress passed the Equal Rights Amendment, and it needed ratification of 38 states. 35 states did it quickly. Unfortunately, Illinois was not one of them, and the time ran out. There now is a new move to get at least 3 more states to approve it and then ask the Congress to reestablish a new deadline. Can you tell us what changes you believe would happen if the Equal Rights Amendment were ratified here in Illinois and we got 2 other states to do it?
First of all, we have a chance at an Equal Rights Amendment. That's the big one. Why do we need an Equal Rights Amendment? Because there's no equality in our country. People who are afraid of equality, and that would be men as well as women, all right, are opposed to the Equal Rights Amendment. But most young people, and when I say young people, under the age of 40 or 45, if they know who Gloria Steinem is, right, think that there is an Equal Rights Amendment already embedded in the Constitution of the United States. And the fact is, as a role model for countries everywhere, that we view as not providing democracy or a republic of fairness in their justice system, those countries have an Equal Right Amendment embedded in their Constitution. We don't even have one. So let's start about what role the United States should be playing as a leader in equality, and then be able to say that we're alongside Yemen in being one of the only countries in the world that doesn't have equal rights. Forget an Equal Right Amendment. That doesn't have equal rights initially embedded in their Constitution. Next.
So we're now at a point in our country where discrimination is still there, where there's no real legal remedy for many women because we don't have it as in the Constitution. We have some good statutes that are there, but passage of this becomes a significant sea change in our government, and will complete the cycle of all of the civil rights that are necessary for all of our citizens. Would you agree with that statement?
I agree with everything you said, but I go a little further. It's not necessarily going to complete a cycle in laws that should be enforced, but it will, one, make certain that everyone in this country understands that equality between genders is imperative and does not currently exist. Let me give you one of my favorite examples. Everybody says, Laurel, we have the Equal Pay Act. All right, Laurel, we have Title VII. Do we know that Title VII is the only statute in our federal legislative history that has caps on damages? A woman now who's an executive who's being discriminated against and is earning a lot of money has a $300,000 cap on her damages. The state of Illinois, to our credit, does not have that cap, but our federal government does. So there is a lack of the ability to enforce equality. There is a lack of will to enforce equality because people of good hearts believe that equality exists and don't understand that women partners in large law firms are making, equity partners are making 89 cents on the dollar, that women rainmakers are having problems, that women are not necessarily able to choose which profession they want to go into, and women executives, you have two CFOs, man and a woman, vying for one position. All right, when there's a merger and an acquisition, for the most part, who gets that job? Women on boards, aren't we a little embarrassed that in the United States of America we're fighting to get women on corporate boards when France has a quota? We don't want a quota, we just want equal representation on corporate boards so that we can be part of a community that raises the performance of corporate boards to the standard that everybody now knows in research. Women on corporate boards make corporations perform better. There are numerous reasons, all right, to understand that there are gaps in equality in this country. But one of the answers is that we're not doing anything about it. We're complacent, again.
So we're going to have this seminar. We want to try and get the membership of the Chicago Bar to come out and be part of this. It's October 31st. It is at noon here at the Chicago Bar Association. We will have Representative Lou Lang and Senator Heather Staines, who are sponsoring the resolution in the Illinois General Assembly. And what would you say to our membership to tell them they need to be involved and they need to be helping these two legislators pass this resolution?
Men and women, members and non-members, come to the Chicago Bar Association. This is the single issue that needs to be addressed by lawyers. And it is lawyers' obligation to explain to our communities why this is so important, because only lawyers understand what an equal rights amendment bodes, both as a standard for the way in which people should think, as an understanding that bias is often implicit and unintentional, as a fact that our laws are not currently enforced, and lastly, to bring the Illinois out of the mire of the reputation. We are the state, all right, that stopped the Equal Rights Amendment from being passed. And the panel we put together, blockbuster, well-informed panel. Whether you agree or disagree with promoting an Equal Rights Amendment at this time, and frankly, folks, I don't see how you disagree with it. All right? But if you do disagree, this is the panel to come to hear the reasons why you want to get active. And the next is, it is the local bar associations who are going to carry the day on this issue. It's not, the American Bar Association is out there, the Specialty Bar Association should be involved, but it is the Chicago Bar Association and the local bars around the country that must be engaged on this issue, whether or not their state has already passed the Equal Rights Amendment.
Laurel, thank you, and I want to remind everyone, please come to this important CLE. Why we need the ERA, October 31st at noon at the Chicago Bar Association. The kind of issues you've heard discussed in this promo will be the kind of issues that we will look at in depth at the event. Thank you for listening.